Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for coming to what I think will be an exciting announcement. The news today is that last night at our Board of Governors meeting, the governors voted to return to a past Academy tradition. So yes, this morning's event is about the Academy Awards. But it may not be exactly what you think it is. One of our main programming activities at the Academy this year, right now, taking place at the Academy, is a retrospective of Academy Award-nominated pictures from 70 years ago. That extraordinary crop of films from 1939. Extraordinary. To prove it to you, I'm going to ask you to have a look at these titles from 1939. So there they are. The first thing that you'll notice is that it is a pretty amazing collection of great movies. And then the second thing you'll notice is that there are 10 of them. So suppose you had to narrow that field down to 5 nominations. If we decided that in 1939 we would have 5 nominations the way we do it now, which of those films would you keep? Well, I can only bet that each of us might answer that question differently, but one thing is obvious. Whichever 5 movies you selected, you'd be losing 5 extraordinary films from that particular year, 1939, and the spectrum would be completely different. So look what we have here. Gone with the Wind, the massive historical epic. We have Wuthering Heights, one of the great movies of all time, masterful Laurence Olivier film about based on a 19th century novel. Love Affair, still one of the great movies of all times. In this series, we showed Love Affair here at the Academy last week, and it is still one of the great, remarkable movies. And there's also room for Stagecoach, the Great Western, Ninotchka, a fine comedy, and this one, a little movie called The Wizard of Oz. It's remarkable. And 1939 wasn't the only year that we had more than 5 nominations. We actually had 10 nominees in most years between 1931 and 1943. And in 3 of those years, during that span, we had an 8 or a 12 picture Best Picture nominees. So, in fact, this very year at the Oscars, we made a special effort to note all of the movies of the year, all of the fine movies of the year, not just the Oscar nominees. And we looked at that, and we thought about it, and the more we thought about it, and we looked at what had been released, we thought, we need 10 Best Picture nominees again. We need to do what we did in the 30s. So that's the big news. Beginning with the current 82nd awards year, the Academy will select not 5, but 10 nominees in the Best Picture categories. We will be casting our net wider. And in casting that net wider, who knows what's going to turn up? It might be that a documentary will be nominated for Best Picture. Who knows? A foreign language film might be nominated. Certainly there's a possibility that an animated film could be nominated. And what do you know? Maybe even a comedy in that group of 10. So that's what the news is. I'm happy to take whatever questions you have, and I'm very happy to make this announcement to you this morning. Thank you. Yeah, question.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Rob Willard from AFP.
Hello.
Will there be any restrictions on a film which is nominated for Best Picture being prevented from being nominated for foreign language film or best animated?
Question is, will there be a restriction if you're nominated for Best Picture? Can you not be nominated for foreign language or some of the other special categories? Answer is no, absolutely, positively not. So if there's a documentary that looms great, then it can be nominated in the Best Picture category and, of course, in the documentary category.
Hey, Sid, I was curious, how did this conversation come up? I mean, how did it get going, and whose idea was it?
You know, we've been kind of mulling, as usual, what we can do to make everything more valid in today's times. And two things happened. One, we created this program of the best films of 1939, 70 years ago. And, there was a moment when we said, there were 10 of them, not 5 of them, 10 of them. The other thing is, Larry Mark and Bill Condon, the producers of the show last year, said to us in a post-analysis of the show, it would be great if we had more Best Pictures, if the spectrum were wider. So they helped. And, since we were thinking about it anyway, we then got into some deep discussions about it on a governor level. And as I said, last night at the governor's meeting, at the Board of Governors meeting, we said, yep, let's do it. And here we are today. Yes?
Carrying on with that, did The Dark Knight have any play in that discussion at all? Because that had a play on the street.
In discussions about this, you talk about what might have happened. You speculate on what might have happened. And I would not be telling you the truth if the words Dark Knight didn't come up along the way. But then so did 10 other movies come up, including, I kind of made a joke about comedies, but so did a few comedies from last year. So it was all, it was like rolling thunder. We started taking ourselves seriously in considering this and finally decided to do it. Questions?
Greg Kilday,
Yeah,
the reporter.
of course. Hi, Greg.
Was there any discussion about categorizing the best pictures as to 5 best dramas or 5 best comedies?
We did talk about that because that, too, comes up along the way. And we decided absolutely positively not. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're about. We're in this category. We're about the best picture, not the best something picture, but the very best picture. And we want to absolutely keep it that way. This is the pinnacle of an honor for a motion picture, and it's a singular honor.
This is a far different time than 1930s, 1940s. Mm-hmm. There are fewer movies being made, and when we do our Oscar punditry every year, we've actually asked ourselves the questions in looking at this particular year, too. Would we even be able to find 10 worthy films in a given year that nowadays that really merit that Best Picture category? What discussion was there about that, and do you worry that it might dilute the Oscar? Best Picture?
You're asking a couple of questions, I think. Well, I can tell you this from my own personal experience. I have my ballot. There are 5 slots for my 5 best choices, for Best Picture in order of my preference. And when I get to the 5th one, I think, there are 2 more that I'd like to put in there, or there are 3 more, or I have to forego doing, something I would have liked to have done. So no, I think that that the field is vast. There were 300 eligible movies last year and the year before. And it's about an average of around 300. And to be one of 10 nominees out of 300 is still pretty special, so I do not think it'll dilute what we're doing in any way. Quite the opposite. I think it just it broadens it. It may make it more interesting and less cloistered. It'll be more open with more possibilities, more potential possibilities for Best Picture.
Hi, Alex Dobrzinski with Reuters.
Hi,
Why
Alex.
are you doing this only for the best film and not for any other category?
We're focusing on the best film. We don't think there's a need in other categories, actually, Alex. We do think that there's a good reason to be doing this for Best Picture. So it is the one and only area that we've made this change in. Question?
The ratings have been down over the recent years compared to some of the peak years. Are you hoping that this might broaden the potential audience and maybe prompt more people to tune into the ceremony?
Well, we're always hoping that the audience will grow for the Oscars. And I just want to make the point that this past year the ratings were up, so, that's the good news. But we're always hoping to broaden the audience. Just last week, I was in all places in China, and China now is a market for the Oscar show. And it turns out in that gigantic country of 1.3 billion people, 5 million people watched the Oscar show last year. So it's growing in a certain sense around the world, and hopefully will continue to grow here domestically. Anyone else? Thank you. Okay, thank you.